Alright, Shalom. I like to say Kahalayam, Wahawadla, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakodash. Right, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessing to the acrimony will that push us through to the four corners of the earth. Right, his brother Yahweh here. I said I do have go through a few precepts, through the spirit. I'll entitle it. Just paraphrasing. I'll entitle it don't seek vain glory. You understand, the reward is more important. Okay, you'll see in this truth, you'll see a lot of things that's encourage you to be vain. A lot of spirits might try to get into your head and try to have you focusing on the vain things. You understand, vain rewards, vain attention, and all these different things. Something might make a video, you might find a brother, let's get hundreds of views, thousands of views, and you might get one or two. You understand? But this thing is not about recognition. It's not about how pleasing it is to others or how pleasing you are in the sight of others. You understand? This is really a job you have to do. Whether it be you might be a brother who has get plenty views or little views. Whether it be, it might even be situations where you might be doing a lot, and you might find that the recognition you has get for it or the thanks you has get for it doesn't even be much. But really and truly, you're a servant to the Lord first, and that is the most important thing. These things you're doing is not in vain. You understand? All of these things that you're doing is not in vain. Right? We'll go through some scriptures, break it down a little further. I said it, Isaiah 49 verse 6, right? It say, and he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant. And before anything else, he's a servant to the Lord. You understand? As a man of the Lord, before anything else, he's a servant to the Lord. That is your first priority. And you just do that in many different ways. You just do that by feeding the sheep. You just do that by serving your brethren, helping the ministry, all these different things. Even if you might be a part of a ministry, you might be doing more than everybody else. You might even find that others doesn't do as much as they should. Remember that you have your job to do. You understand? You have your job to do. If they're not doing enough, they will have to answer for that. But you're a servant of the Lord first. You understand? All these things have to be kept in mind. Even though you mightn't get as much thanks for it, even though you mightn't get as much recognition for it as other brothers, wherever the case may be, remember that you have your job to do. And sometimes spirits just try to pick at you to get you to higher thinking ways that you shouldn't be thinking, or to discourage you from doing things that you should be doing. Right? But you always have to keep your mind focused because you have a job to do. Right? You see, and he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. Right? We have a job to do these things. It said, I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. And you had to always live as that light. You understand? As a man of the Lord, you have a serious weight that you had to bear. You have a lot of things that you just had to upkeep. You had to keep yourself a certain way. You always had to be doing certain things. Sometimes the work just be a little strenuous, but you always had to remember that these things are not in vain. Right? These things are not in vain. It said Ecclesiasticus 12, right? I'll start from 1. It say, when thou wilt do good, know to whom thou doest it, so shalt thou be thanked for thy benefits. It says, do good to a godly man, and thou shalt find a recompense, and if not from him, yet from the Most High. You understand? So if it might be a situation where you're always putting out, you're always trying, you might find those some mightn't recognize. You understand? You might find some mightn't be appreciative as you might like. Remember, you're not just doing these things for a brother. You're not just doing these things for the poor. You're not just doing these things to the two-third. These things you're doing as a servant of the Lord. And that is your first priority. That's the first person you're doing it for the Lord. then for yourself, then for somebody else. You understand? But your first priority is to do it what? For the Lord, because these things are pleasing to the Lord. You understand? Not studying the vain things that follow it, like, like recognition and popularity and, whatever else comes with it. These things are not priority. The main reason why you're doing these things is to serve the Lord. And to talk about that in to talk about something similar to that in Galatians, because the scriptures refer to us also as what? Servants. Even though we might be men, the scriptures say what? Serve one another, right? We are servants. We are servants unto the church, right? And this does go for many different people. It's go for brothers, it's go for wives, it's go for anybody who in the Lord, right? There's Ephesians 6 verse 5, right? It says, servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh. It say, with fear and trembling, in singleness of your heart, as unto Mashiach. You understand? So if you're even being sincere to a brother, you're doing things for them, you're doing things for the poor, whoever it be, you're doing it unto who? Unto Mashiach. That's supposed to be your first mindset. You understand? Even though it mightn't always be for you as it could be for others, whereas, some might be thanked more than you. You understand? Some might get more recognition, faith than you. Always remember that these things are vain. Even though it is nice to receive these things are not the reason why you're doing it. You're doing it because this is what the Lord requires of you. And you're doing these things to serve the Lord. You always have to keep these things in mind. Right? And you have to be mindful of those spirits that is be whispering in your ears, trying to discourage you from doing that which is good. Right? It says verse 6, it say, not with eye service, right, as men pleasers, but as the servants of Mashiach. So this goes for brothers, this goes for wives, this goes for everybody. Because a man might have a wife, when she around others, she's trying to act like she's the nicest wife in the world, but when behind closed doors, she's a monster. But it's about sincerity. It's about doing what is right. Even if you might have a husband who mightn't even be all that nice as you might like, you're not serving your husband for the sake of serving your husband. You're serving your husband because these things are pleasing to the Lord, and that is the law. That a wife's supposed to what? Serve her husband. That's supposed to be the first priority on your mind. You understand? That's supposed to be the first priority on your mind, to do what is pleasing in the sight of the Lord. Right? It said, not with eye service as men pleasers, but as the servants of Mashiach, doing the will of the Most High from the heart. It say, with good will doing service as to the Lord and not to men. And that is the mindset you how to be when you're in the truth. Things wouldn't always go exactly as you would like. Like I say, sometimes you go out, things going through your head where you might like things to be more this way or like things to be more that way. But always try to keep a level head. Always try to be circumspect. Remember, all these things you're doing unto the Lord. So you can't want to be distracted or focusing on vain things that have no profit in this kingdom. You working towards what? A greater glory. And your mind always has to be focused on that. Right? Because let me say, as a brother who does do videos, you do everything you're supposed to do, and everybody does just look past it. You just do videos, nobody does look at your videos. That don't mean that the Lord not seeing it. That don't mean that angels not bearing witness to what it is going on. And that doesn't mean that you wouldn't receive the reward for doing all of those things. You understand? Even if nobody does see it, to be able to actually be glorified or receive vain glory from men, the Lord sees it, and that is what is the most important. And these are things that you always have to remember. Right? Say, with good will doing service as to the Lord and not to men. Right? I see my phone like it going cut off. But I guess that was the point. That was really the point of the whole thing. I see it going to 1%. I'll see if I can read out this quick, right? If Abba Ratazah. Verse 8 is saying, knowing that whatsoever good thing any man doeth, the same shall he receive of the Lord, whether he be bond or free. You understand? Whether he be master or servant, as long as you're doing the things that please unto the Lord, you will receive the reward of the Lord. And like I said, these are things to keep in mind first before anything else. These are the first things that you have to keep in mind. No matter what spirits might be poking at you, trying to, you shouldn't be doing all this, or, they just never appreciate nothing. So, you understand, those spirits, you have to tell them, get lost. You still have a job to do. You understand? The scriptures say what? We will reap if we faint not. You have to keep to these things, even though sometimes it'll be tough. Even though sometimes you might like it to go a different way. Or even sometimes you might find somebody might need me that appreciative. To the end of the day, you're not just doing these things for them. You're doing these things unto the Lord. And that is the main point. Right? Verse 9 it say, and ye masters do the same thing unto them, forbearing threatening. So even masters supposed to be fair with the servants, right? If you have a servant that's rebellious, you don't have much you could tell them. You understand? But if you have servants that do what they're supposed to do and there's listen and so forth, you're supposed to be fair with them. You're not supposed to be, as the scriptures talk about being a lion. You understand? You're supposed to be fair with them. It's saying, knowing that your master also is in heaven, neither is there respect of persons with him. So I feel I'll end the video there. I think that get the point across. It's just something else in my spirit to say, keep in mind. Always keep these things in mind, because these spirits has always been in your head, trying to get you to oppose things that you're supposed to do, and trying to get you to go off from being how you're supposed to be. You understand? Always be mindful of these voices in your head and get used to discerning them. Right? Always remember you have a job to do. Whether somebody else might be doing their job or not, their reward don't have to be the same as your reward. You understand? Whether somebody might appreciate it or not, that is for them to sort out. You understand? You have your job to do. You do your job. And you see anybody who has had a mindset where, but look, they just do this and get away with it, and they just do that and get away with it, and how they could do that and I can't do that. You don't know what the Lord have in store for them. You don't know what the Lord have in store for them. You hoping that he has something good in store for you. So you do what you're supposed to do. If they want to be off and they don't want to receive correction, then whatever happened to them, happened to them. Scriptures talk about what? Working out your own salvation. The only thing you could mainly do is make sure that you're on point. You understand? You can't make anybody else do anything. The most you could do is talk to them. Anyway, I hope it's edifying. With that, I say shalom.